I've been a Junji Itō fan ever since I read Long Dream, which I found brilliant. But now with Hellstar Remina, I might have to rethink myself as even more than a fan. There is something special, or is it just me, about horror as portrayed in a manga through the exclusive but not limiting use of black and white. The way shadows intertwine, creating this simply terrifying chiaroscuro. And then there is also the charm of space, which only really needs those two colors to represent its empty void, warring against the dim stars. This is what Junji Itō has us deal with here. The merciless cruelty of nature against humanity's undying hope and even its instinct of survival. The story opens with the Nobel Prize-winning discovery of a new planet, which Professor Oguro names after his daughter, Remina. Not paying too much attention to the neighboring stars, unexplainably beginning to disappear around its orbit, the world seems to be more interested in making the other Remina its new idol. Visibly troubled by all the sudden lights pointed at her, Remina might just want a fresh start in life, especially after her mother's death, so she finally takes up the offer from an entertainment agency, quickly becoming the brightest star, though not for long. From there, more characters join the main group we follow, with some certainly strange, to say the least. And this is another reason why Hellstar Remina shines among Junji Itō's creations, at least in my book. Characterization is an aspect to be praised in this story, as humanity's impending doom would have only worked so well had no characters had any substance to them. In other terms, the self-fulfilling ending, already sealed from the very beginning, would have still been fun, but the appreciation or dislike grown toward the cast add that bit of flavor which is enough to root for an impossible alternate ending. These characters are not empty shells. They have a background, desires, virtues, vices. They go through struggles, especially Remina. This is not always the case with Junji Ito's story-driven works, as more often than not, his protagonists, at least in what I've read so far, play the simple role of victims of the plot. Anyway, things get troubling when the planet Remina is observed suddenly stop and decide to move off on a direct course for the solar system. It's almost as if it looked in the eye of the astronomer who was watching it, or maybe watching her, which drives the scientist insane. The news spreads fast, and both the media and the die-hard fans do their thing in that they fabricate conjectures in an attempt to explain the enigmatic situation. Seeing also how Professor Oguro dismisses the rumors as baseless. But are they? It doesn't take long for Pluto and Neptune to disappear. Then it is Uranus's turn. Soon after, Saturn's. Though reassured by the government, the masses aren't easily fooled. And as the higher classes start leaving the Earth to save themselves, one smart guy figures it all out. Hey guys, listen up! Don't you see what's going on here? Huh? What? Go on then. Tell us. Think. Why would planet Remina come all the way here, of all places? It's a huge freaking universe. This can't be a coincidence. Doesn't anyone else smell a setup here? Firstly, the planet rocks up just as that Professor Oguro said it would. He gets the Nobel out of it, and his daughter becomes a big star. How perfect. I can't be the only one thinking that. Okay, so what are you trying to say here? I'm saying that man and his daughter, they're signaling it to come here. After Jupiter falls, so does Mars, along with all its human bases. Japanese people and their tentacles. This time I'll excuse it since Remina's cosmic erotic horror is top-notch. More in detail about her eroticism. When humanity launches a spacecraft to gain information on the threat, the astronauts discover something hiding on her dark side, directly contrasting her cell-like and even hairy exposed part. A feminine eye with long eyelashes. It's a disturbingly beautiful visual oxymoron. On one hand, we have the bacterial and alien face of the planet. On the other hand, an absurdly familiar feature such as the human eye. And what both of these aspects share in common is that they are biological, concrete, realistic elements. Out of this world for sure, but not so much after all. Which is terrifying, because that feeling of seducing familiarity is immediately betrayed by the danger it doesn't even try to conceal, especially when the eye matches the astronaut's gaze. Though not less dangerous, I believe, is the mob mentality represented in this story. Convinced that sacrificing Professor Oguro and his daughter to Remina will satiate her, riots explode all over the world to catch the girl, with the climax being the immersion of a weird organization in Japan that, for Mother Earth's sake, believes the two Reminas to be one and the same. So killing one should take out the other. This is where the story turns into a very exciting thriller, while momentarily putting, but not neglecting, the horror aspect on the background. I'd like to go on a tangent because curiosity got the better of me and I want to share some interesting info. It's about the aforementioned mob mentality. It really doesn't take much to lead the masses out of nowhere and have them trust in certain fantasies. Defined herd or mob mentality as the tendency for people's behavior or beliefs to conform to those of the group they belong to. There have been very interesting experiments like Solomon Ash's that, in the right contexts, demonstrate how easy it is to mindlessly follow a group, even when knowing it is in the wrong. In 1951, Ash decided to investigate if and how a person could be influenced by social pressure from a majority group. So, in the experiments, participants were asked to say out loud which line from one card resembled the most the one on the other. The answer was pretty obvious. However, each group only included one real participant, unaware that the rest were actors, instructed to give a preemptively agreed on incorrect answer. If the naive and real participant gave the wrong answer, it would be clear that this was due to the pressure of the group, and smartly he was to give his answer last, so after hearing that of the others. At the start, all participants, including the actors, gave the correct answers, not to make their trap too obvious. But after a few rounds, the actors started to provide the same incorrect answers. There were 18 trials in total, and the actors gave the wrong answer on 12 of them, so-called critical trials. Ash also made sure to have trials with only real participants and no actors, to compare his results. Ash found out that in the critical trials, 75% of participants conformed at least once, 5% conformed each time, and 25% of participants never confirmed. In the tests with no actors, with no pressure to conform to the group, less than 1% of participants gave the wrong answer. Now, there are some critical factors which may have influenced these results, such as the banality of the task, which could have motivated the real participants simply not to think by themselves and follow the group to spare reasoning. Another critique is the sample used, that of male college students of the same age, and especially in a historical and cultural climate such as that of the US during the 50s, where individuals were strongly conforming to the group, in a very politically conservative period involved in an anti-communist witch hunt. So, as surprised as I always am with people joining meaningless riots just to be violent in the real world, I can't but find credible the behavior shown in Hellstar Remina by the masses, even more in a moment of unity against an imminent alien threat. Besides, the manga seems to suggest that people believe in what they want to believe, even outside of a mob mentality speculation, and that might allow them to escape to a delusional fantasy just to avoid reality, or allow them to bring out their brutal and uncaring nature, not so different from the cosmic horror of Remina, then reverting to an animalistic, purely predatory state. The distorted artistic representation of Remina is another point I'd like to touch on. Who would have thought that drawing a hostile, sentient planet like this would work? I, for one, would expect to see something like this through the lenses of a microscope. Drawing Remina's surface as a microbiological organism works so paradoxically well. Thinking about it, isn't the world of bacteria an alien enough world? But it doesn't end here, as Remina is a case of cosmic horror done perfectly. This genre is based on a few principles: horror's derivation from the unknown, the insignificance of human existence, and finally, the impossibility of understanding certain aliens. These aliens, but the universe more in general, is indifferent at best when it's not hostile, and even trying to get ever closer to such superior or transcendental beings proves fatal for humans. The manga does a wonderful job at respecting these conditions, and it all starts from the very beginning, with this aura of unknown from Remina, said to belong to another universe, and following incomprehensible laws of physics. Then there's her unpredictable behavior, making her even more elusive, especially when, erotically grown a mouth and tastefully grabbed it with her tongue, she eats the moon. Also, this guy's reaction is hilarious. How insignificant can humanity be in front of the universe? While Remina ate all the planets and stars on her way to Earth at who knows what speed, what were people doing other than starting riots or thinking about worthless stuff? No matter the technological advancements, how evolved civilly or as a species naturally, there has never been any chance of survival in front of the most neutral of entities, one that has to eat to survive. This is how nature works. Eat or be eaten. There is no ethics nor evil in space. Only the strongest survives. And go figure what happens when the strongest is a sentient planet. The ending summarizes this indifference with a cross floating in space, even if there is a little twist. Finally, those who try to grasp Remina's logic in the manga either go insane or meet an even worse fate. This is a story that truly encapsulates how rotten, brutal, but also ridicule humanity can be. Junji Itō asks us the question: who's the real horror? Is it that ball up in the sky? Or is it down here? A query that is iconically represented by the freak leading the mob, looking and acting like Remina. Just as the latter pervertedly licks our planet, the former too follows her. One last thing I'd like to appreciate is how realistically physics are presented. Right after licking the planet, something that I didn't think about, an immense force is generated by the tongue, which makes the Earth spin insanely fast. And Junji Itō does not waste the opportunity for some great action. All that follows is just cinema.